was a crucial game versus one of the hottest teams in the league, the Charlotte Hornets. And Miami responded with one of their grittiest performances of the season. Wes, best win of the year so far?
Best win of the year so far. Let's talk about it.
You are Locked On Heat, your daily Miami Heat podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Heat, your daily podcast on the Miami Heat, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Whether you're tuning in on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app, thanks for making Locked On Heat your first listen every day. Join the Cookie Gang. Become an everydayer. That means subscribing, tuning in every day, Monday through Friday, and signing up for the Everydayer Club with the link in the show notes. I'm Wes Goldberg, host of Locked On NBA Daily and Real GM Radio. I'm here with David Ramil. Both of us are credentialed Heat media members who cover this team every day. We are recording this on Saturday morning, after one of the biggest wins of the season, David. The Heat go into Charlotte last night on the second night of a back-to-back and beat the Hornets, one of the hottest teams in the NBA, if not the hottest team in the NBA. They beat the Hornets 128-120. What a game, man. I mean, felt like a playoff game. The intensity was up. Obviously an important game for the standings, we'll talk about. I mean, with the win, the Heat, they take the tiebreaker over the Hornets for the season. They move into 7th in the Eastern Conference, just percentage points behind, quote-unquote, behind the 76ers, but in a virtual tie for them in the standings. Real striking distance now to avoid the play-in altogether, win the Southeast Division for whatever that matters, and put some extra cushion between them and the buzzing Hornets here. Let's talk about the game, though. What stood out to you?
Oh, just the phenomenal effort. You wind up missing Andrew Wiggins for the game. You're already out with Norman Powell, so you're shorthanded. Your bench is a little thin with Nikola Jovic and Simone Fontecchio. Not that they were major parts of the rotation, but on the second night of a back-to-back, you might figure that they'll get some playing time, all things considered. And now you're down 4 players that might otherwise have played. You're going into Charlotte, again, a second night of a back-to-back. And one of the question marks I've had for this team over the last 40 games of the season is whether or not they have the kind of sense of urgency or whether or not they recognize what's at stake on a game-to-game basis. And I didn't see it. I haven't seen it until last night. And that was what stood out to me the most, was that there was no letdown from this team, that they understood the challenge and they responded in every opportunity. Really, really, I use the term gritty, and I think it really was the grittiest performance from them, because it was incredible to see them respond in every way, whether it was a defensive possession, a big shot down the stretch, handling some, in my opinion, questionable officiating and not letting it get to them. I think they did a really, really good job of just keeping their head and their emotions in check, but utilizing them in a really, just a great way of kind of channeling that emotion of what, as you said, felt like a playoff game, to really turn that game around and control the end there. We've talked recently a lot about how this team just does not perform well in clutch situations. That was the exact opposite last night. They were really, really good down the stretch, whether it was, again, getting that key stop, hitting that big shot to pull away from Charlotte, and figuring out a way to get this win and go back to Miami. Great win, and I think really the best win this season.
Yeah, decisive 11-2 run in the fourth quarter to take control of this game. Con Knippel makes that three-pointer late, and you're like, oh, boy, here we go. And then, but they put the clamps on. They made the stop when they needed to, and they get that 8-point win. Ditto, everything you said, man. That was such a response on such a tough spot, right? Like, I hate when in the NBA sometimes we get these games that should be like these big moments, right? Like the Hornets and the Heat. I joked, what was it in the episode previous? A couple days ago. I'm like, like Heat Hornets in March. We all had this game circled on our calendar before the season. We didn't, obviously. I was being facetious, but this was a really important spot, and it's kind of lame in the NBA when one of the teams, it always feels like these big games when you look at the teams, like one of these teams are always coming off of a back-to-back, right? Like there's a rest disadvantage or whatever. It was a tough spot for the Heat to be in, but they didn't. This was that. It was that Heat culture-y kind of nobody cares, nobody sympathizes, we have enough kind of next man up stuff, but like nobody cares that you're on the second night of a back-to-back, right? This thing counts in the standings the same way, and they go into Charlotte against what has been the top performing team in the league since basically the middle of December.
Yeah.
And they put the beat down on them, man. Like they matched the intensity. They came out. knowing what was at stake in this one, they did not shy away from the moment. And I love the defense in this game. I thought they were on a string. They played man-to-man. They played zone. They kind of threw out the kitchen sink in this one, right, with some of the zone defense tactics that they used. Tyler Herro breaking out of what he called the three-point shooting slump, even though the stats would argue that he was shooting okay from three, but 8 3-pointers in this game. Definitely the earning some credit cookies later on in this show. But
let's go Heat chance in the Spectrum Center.
Wasn't that amazing? Amazing. I mean, it was that was the kind of win that makes you feel like this team can actually accomplish something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, you're right.
What that something is. Maybe it's just get the 6th seed, get in the playoffs. But it's the kind of win that a serious basketball team with a real direction makes. And we can argue about direction. I know some fans have questions about the direction of this team is win games. That's the direction. That's what this team has decided that it's going to do. And they got their biggest win of the season last night. That run in the fourth quarter, though. Bam Adebayo, Tyler Herro stepping up. That's what you need your franchise players to do.
Absolutely. Yeah, they were great. Bam, just aggressive. Like I know we'll talk about him and his stats specifically in the next segment, but just the aggression, the taking shots. Like he wasn't as efficient as possible, but I think you have to give credit to the Hornets defense for doing some good things to stop him. And at the same time, there was no letdown. There was constant attacking, trying to find a way to make things happen, whether it was drawing a foul, getting the shot off around the rim. 3-point shot wasn't falling for him. That's a little bit of a concern, but again, I think he was great. And defensively, man, what a possession. I know what's going to stand out to everybody. I'm sure we'll talk about it later also, but that possession against Kobe White, where he guards him from the perimeter. White's like, I got a big on him. I got a big on me. I'm going to drive against him. And Bam.
North Carolina versus North Carolina.
Step for step, and Bam matches him. And then Kobe's falling out of bounds. What is he? He blocks his shot, and then he is falling out of bounds, takes the ball in midair, and throws it against Kobe White to make the out of bounds, force it out on him instead, and gets the possession of the ball. Those possessions were so huge.
If Bam Adebayo played for the Boston Celtics, that possession would have won him Defensive Player of the Year.
100%.
Because they would have been on SportsCenter replaying that. Look at Bam. Nobody could do this.
Look at the IQ of a player.
He blocks it with both hands. And then in one moment, I'm like, I didn't even see what happened the first time. Like I didn't realize what had happened. It was it was a block and a throw off his body in the same motion. I mean, for him to have the awareness to do that.
In half a second.
In half a second. I didn't realize what happened. I'm like, do we have the ball? Like, I was so confused. And then they did the replay. I'm like, how did he do that? How did he even know Kobe White was there? And Kobe White looked shocked. And then, you know how sometimes you get scared? Some people get angry when they get scared.
Yeah.
Kobe White was going through the haunted house and then punched one of the characters when the character jumped around the corner. That was Kobe White's reaction. He kind of got mad at Bam, and Bam had a little bit of words. And I think Kobe White was more surprised and scared, jump scared and mad because of that than actually getting the ball thrown off of him, because that happens all the time.
Yeah. I thought it was I was questioning, is that legal? Because I didn't even see it. Because at first I thought Bam had actually gone out of bounds and put his feet down, but no, he was in midair, and it has the possession there. That's just and
I'm glad you rewinded that whole thing to the beginning of that possession, because that was obviously the really cool part. But that entire defensive possession for him was aces, just Defensive Player of the Year stuff. This is why this guy is going to make an All NBA or an All Defensive team this season. So, look, you've got. We talked about going into that game, how you win that game, right? And we talked about the margins. And I thought the Heat did a really nice job of not getting beat on the margins. First of all, the turnover battle was a big thing here. The Heat turned the ball over just 6 times, forced 12 turnovers from Charlotte, so twice as many turnovers from Charlotte. The Hornets are the best defensive rebounding team in the league. The Heat did not get beat on the boards badly. The Hornets had 48 rebounds. Miami had 44 rebounds, so that's fine. Yeah. They took 52 three-point attempts, the Hornets did, in this game. They made 19 of them. That's a lot of threes, but the Heat took enough. The Heat didn't really take that many threes. They only took 38, but they shot 47% from three overall, so they made 18 threes. So Charlotte, despite taking way more three-point attempts, only made one more three-pointer than the Heat, so you're not getting beat on the three-point margin. All the things that we said they needed to do.
They won the transition game, too.
They won the transition game. This wasn't one of those random games where the Heat just come in get hot from 3-point range, and just sort of steal a win on the second night of back-to-back on the road. They took care of the things that they needed to take care of to put them in position to win this game. It was one of those games. It could have went either way, right?
Sure.
Totally acknowledging that. Like, Tyler Herro getting hot. They definitely got hot from three. A Hornets fan could be like, hey, the Heat shot 47%. That's why they won. No. They won. They put themselves in position to win this game because they took care of the margins. That's how you beat a good team, and the Heat earned this win in this game. We got a ton of credit cookies to hand out. We're going to do it next.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. Big games, tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to the late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. Rivalry games, ranked matchups, whatever fits your read. And you can mix spreads, totals, player props to match how you see the slate playing out. And then you just apply the profit boost and instantly bump up the potential payout. Also, many crucial games coming down the stretch. March Madness is already upon us. It's so exciting. Guess what? It's only going to get better from here on out. So go safe, go bold, whatever you want. With a team that you've been following all season, there's nothing wrong, no wrong way to do it. If you parlay your style, you can always win with some more upside behind it now. So head to FanDuel.com. Oh, boy. I'm missing my ad right here. Go to FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. We'll be right back.
You couldn't figure out the rest of that ad read.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It's FanDuel.com. Play your game.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. It's another Miami Heat win on a Saturday morning. It's time for the tastiest segment of Locked On Heat. It's time for Credit Cookies. Another Miami Heat win, which means we've got 10 credit cookies to hand out on a Saturday morning. Where do you want to begin?
Well, you know what? Before I get into the cookie allotment, because I know it's kind of important, it was something we touched on there, the kind of the overwhelming sense of like a playoff type atmosphere. And you and I had been talking about this recently, that Locked On Hornets kind of called their matchup versus Miami a rivalry.
They said specifically, they said if the Hornets have a rival, the closest thing would be the Miami Heat. Yeah, and I texted this to you.
Yeah. And I was a little surprised at that. But I'll be honest with you, going into last night's game, I did kind of feel some playoff vibes there. Like even in me, I was just wondering, like I was getting a little emotionally invested in watching the game. And I know my personal feelings about LaMelo Ball notwithstanding, like I just, there was frustration there. I saw a lot of the calls that were kind of ridiculous going against Miami. It was really interesting to see Miami respond to what could have been a really aggressive environment there, because the Hornets, the fan base has something to cheer about now. The calls were definitely not going their way. This is a good team that's been on a hot streak lately, and just for Miami to respond to it, I was really impressed with the way this team handled.
I half expected Tyler Herro made that big 3-pointer, one of the big 3-pointers that he made late, and he looks over to the sideline. I half expected purple shirt guy to jump off a courtside seat and just show up. And the way that Tyler Herro was sort of playing to the crowd. Maybe
is there a little personal beef with LaMelo Ball, you think? Because I think I saw a little
Herro
between the two.
Herro and Ball.
Yeah,
because they both are kind of cut from the same cloth in the sense that
I guess
they have a very high opinion of themselves, and
kind of have to.
And they're both sort of entertainers. That's the thing I have always sort of appreciated about Tyler Herro, even going back to the bubble, right? Like he kind of recognizes the moment of, hey, this is fun. What's happening here, whether it's the snarl and the bubble or whatever, like Tyler Herro will play to the crowd, and that's not something I always enjoy that. I you know me, I have a soft spot for players that do that, and that's I've always sort of had a soft spot for LaMelo too. He's more of like a funhouse mirror version of that,
a caricature of
he's like only playing to the crowd. I heard this on a podcast recently, and I thought it was it was a well said of how LaMelo Ball approaches the game of basketball. He approaches every possession with the idea of what's the coolest thing that I could do right now, and that's what he doesn't go about it like what's the right basketball play. He's like, what's the coolest thing that I could do with the basketball right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So as a non-Hornets fan, it's always very entertaining to watch LaMelo Ball
Yes,
because of that,
yes.
for better or for worse, right? But right now, but credit to LaMelo, he's dialed it back a little bit, and the Hornets have been playing really well.
A
But
little bit.
I do sense that, right? Like Herro and LaMelo Ball probably look at each other and they're just like, I'm better than you, and I need to prove it right now.
Yeah, that's interesting. But you're right. I mean, I think there is a little something there. They are both entertainers, but last night I think really showed the difference between LaMelo Ball and Tyler Herro, because I know Tyler can be a little bit too erratic for some Heat fans, and I get all that, but nothing comes close to the erratic levels that we see from Ball. Like the Heat check kind of mentality. You know what? I just hit one. I'm going to try to hit the next 5 3-point attempts, no matter how wild they might be. I'm just going to put up these shots, no matter what range they might be from. And that's, I think, a little concerning. It's not like Tyler always has the best shot selection, but he's definitely much more focused on trying to get a good shot, and he's able to get to the lane. The floater was there. The ability to get to the rim was there. The three-point shot, as you said earlier, was definitely there. He had a phenomenal game. Like, I can't take anything away from what Tyler did, because I think he really was a lot more in check than LaMelo Ball was. Recognized the moment, was consistently good throughout the whole game. I had to give him 5 credit cookies. I can't do anything but that. I think he deserves that kind of performance. Without Tyler, by a wide margin, they don't win last night's game, and I think he had his best game of the season, and in a crucial game against the Hornets.
His fourth quarter was tremendous. The shot making, ridiculous. The Heat do not win this game without Tyler Herro, as you said. What really impressed me outside of the shot making, and you're right about his shot selection. And look, somebody on your team is going to have to take dumb shots.
Sure,
that's the thing about basketball. Somebody's going to have the chutzpah to just go out there and take that ill-advised shot. And you know what? Sometimes that shot goes in. It's the no, yes shot. Somebody on your team has to take that shot. And usually it's your star player. And the Heat, without that superstar level player, that responsibility, as strange as it seems, falls to Tyler Herro, and he is the best shot maker on the team. He's the 3-level scorer. He's the best shooter that they have. And I'm okay with him taking those shots, frankly. Because like I said, somebody has to take them. And if anybody's going to take them, I want Tyler taking them. What really stood out to me in that game was his playmaking, 9 assists. And
amazing.
What Herro has done this last week with the lob game has really opened up parts of Miami's offense and given them really important, easy relief buckets at the rim, obviously, that are so important, not only in getting like Bam and Kel'el Ware going. He's thrown a couple to Jaime. Yep. What Herro is doing with the quick decision making in transition. You go back and watch Tyler Herro's assists in that game. Nothing really stands out in terms of super impressive, right? There's no like, oh my God, how did he thread the needle on that one? How did he see that guy getting open? Nothing was super like anticipatory. He had one really nice kick out to Jaime. I think it was in the first or second quarter that kind of got Jaime going from 3-point range. Yep. But other than that, like nothing really stood out. But he's making the simple reads. He's making the right reads. And that's really important because he does draw defenses, right? He will get a double team. He will get in 2 feet into the paint, and he will make the right read consistently. And that's really big for Tyler Herro. I bring this up all the time, but like I remember being on the phone with John Calipari working on a feature for The Ringer on Tyler Herro, and Calipari told me, I used to tell Tyler Herro not to pass the ball because more bad things happened when he passed the ball than when he didn't. Because Herro is just not a natural playmaker, not a natural passer. And to see him develop into what he's doing now, again, he's not Tyrese Halliburton out there, but consistently making the right read and racking up 9 assists in a really big game. That's huge. And I think it's very deserving of those 5 credit cookies.
I'm curious to see what the numbers break out in terms of like who he's been able to assist more of over the last few weeks, because it feels like, again, that game is expanding a lot. And not only is he finding the bigs there, but also creating perimeter shots for guys like Pella, Jaime, etc. So
he had 3 assists to Jaime last night.
That's big. That's big. Mm-hmm. That's again because Jaime is benefiting as well from Tyler's ability to drive and his possession of the ball. Like we saw a lot of possessions with Jaime kind of initiating offense and being the primary ball handler, but now he's a recipient. He's following as a trailer. All of a sudden, he's able to catch the lob, etc. So there's
for everybody who had questions about, hey, Tyler Herro, he was at the time coming off the bench. Now he's starting because Powell's out. But like, is Tyler Herro kind of infringing on Jaime's kind of 6th Man of the Year campaign or whatever? Tyler Herro's out here making Jaime better, right? He's kind of spoon feeding him a couple of baskets every game, so that's big. Who's next?
Yeah, Jaime, 21 points. He was great yesterday, shooting the ball extremely well, 4 or 5 from 3-point range. He was able to still be a playmaker with 4 assists. Really
4
solid
from 3-point range.
4 or 6 from 3-point range. Yeah, he was really, really good in just every facet. When they needed a bucket, I think Brandon Miller seemed like he was targeting him a little bit defensively, but I think eventually they shifted coverage a little bit, and Jaime recognized it, and I think his defense really intensified and got better over the course of the game. So there was that one kind of weak spot that the Hornets were exploiting early on, but after that, I think he did a much better job of anticipating and understanding what Miller was trying to do. And look, Miller's a solid player; he's really, really good. And so it's no surprise that he tried to use his length and athleticism against Jaime. But credit to Jaime, I think he was able to use his physicality a little bit more, his strength a little bit better in order to try and contain Miller. And again, just whenever you need a bucket, he was there, just creating plays. He was really, really good last night. So I gave him 2 credit cookies.
I'm glad you brought up the defense stuff with him because I do think he gets targeted sometimes unfairly, and he has stepped up, I thought, all season. And especially last night, like he's not a lockdown wing defender. He could still get beat at times, but he's really stepped up, and I think maximizing sort of his abilities on that end for the most part. That 3 ball is really coming along. I thought the broadcast made a really good point. John Crotty on the broadcast made this great point of how it just looks different coming out of his hands.
Yeah.
Right, the backspin's good. There's more. Yeah, there's more lift under it. He's got more lift with his legs. I don't know what happened, if he just worked on it or if he's just feeling good right now. That's something to monitor. 4 of 6 from three-point range is no joke. He didn't take any threes in the second game against the Nets, but went 2 of 3 in that first game on Tuesday night against Brooklyn. So that 3 ball is starting to come around. And if he's not going to be Tyler Herro from three-point range, but if that becomes like a real thing for him and if he's feeling a lot more comfortable with that 3 ball, we talked about this coming out of the All-Star break. We need Jaime to start taking threes. Teams are just putting bigs on him. They're playing off of him. He's going to have to make teams pay for that kind of coverage. And to his credit, he has for the most part since the All-Star break. How many cookies did you give him?
2.
Okay,
about the defensive possessions, I want to say, I think that the targeting thing is a concern because we'll know that teams will have that in the scouting report that you can go at Jaime, and until he does something a little differently, like he has to be a little bit more physical in a way that maybe will scare players off. Because I think Kel'el was like that too. Like I think guys were going at him specifically until they realized, you know what, maybe that's not such a good matchup just because of the physicality, the fact that he's going to draw fouls. He is a much better defender, and I think until Jaime gets to that level, he's still going to show up on the scouting report as a guy that opponents can find a way to attack. But
he's also got that kind of like the role he plays, 6th man of the year, big scoring numbers.
Right.
Like teams
all
generally
think defense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Jamal Crawford was like that too. So, Bam Adebayo. I gave him 2 credit cookies as well. I think he had a really, really solid game. We talked about it before. It might be underselling him a little bit, but just because he was a little inefficient from offense, 0 for 5 from three-point range, but 12 rebounds, 4 assists, really solid numbers, 1 steal, 1 block, and just the key possessions down the stretch. Maybe it's just the little things. You know, for as good as Jaime was offensively, I think Bam was that defensively, but he also provided a heck of a spark. Scoring wise as well, just really, really good night from him.
Yeah,
and there's nothing else I can say.
It sounds weird. This was one of my favorite Bam games of the season.
I agree.
He got off to a rough start, 1 of 8, I think, to start the game overall, and then really heated up. I actually don't care about the inefficiency because he was really efficient in the second half when it really mattered, right? And he had 12 points in that fourth quarter. The Heat don't win this game without Bam. I think you could have probably given him a few more credit cookies, maybe take some. I don't know. They don't win this game if not for Bam's huge fourth quarter, right? So, like, not all inefficient box scores are made the same, right? Like, Bam got off to a cold start and then really heated up at the end there and was making shots when they needed him to. I think that way that he responded from the first half to the second half is why it was one of my favorite Bam. But the defense was always great, as we talked about. But I love that response from him overall.
Yeah.
And his rebounding was super important, by the way. Musa Bate is maybe the best rebounder in the league right now. And Bam went like board for board with him, and that was big too.
I gave 1 credit cookie to Kel'el Ware, and that's where I'll wrap it up there because I think down the stretch, again, not the block shots. He had 4 last night after the night when he had 7 on Thursday. I mean, really, really, really good on that end. But the rebounding, like there were possessions there where they just had to corral the ball, and he would just stretch that long arm out of nowhere and just snatch the ball, clutch it towards his chest to ensure that they were going to try to take the ball from him. Those are really huge possessions. So I really liked that kind of recognition, the aggression down the stretch to try to make those plays and lock in those rebounds. So I had to give him a credit cookie. I don't know where to take the credit cookie. I think Bam had a game deserving of more than 2 credit cookies, but at the same time, I don't know where to take it away from because Tyler was so big on what he was able to do. Hyman was crucial down the stretch, and so was Kel'el.
I think we can leave it where it is. Tyler's got credit cookies to make up for because he's been out for so much of the season. So I'm okay with giving him a really big share here. Bam and Ware together. They've been playing a lot more. It's part of the plan. This is just happening right now. They were a -10 in the first half in that game. But Spo did not yank him. Ware played 30 minutes in this game. They were on the floor together during that decisive 11-2 run that we talked about to end the game. And I think there was a big reason why it worked. We'll talk about that. Plus, is Tyler Herro just a starter now? Weird question. Something we got to talk about. We'll do that next here on Locked On Heat. Let's go to our questions from the Cookie Gang. You can submit questions and hear yourself on the postgame show by joining the Everydayer Club and joining the All Access tier for $15 a month, or sign up for the yearly subscription and save 17%. Tap the link in the show notes to check it out. Jonah writes in, I think Kel'el Ware might have turned a corner. What I love about the game was that he didn't really stuff the box score with points and boards, but made an immense impact regardless, especially that one defensive rebound in the clutch after he lost position on the offensive board the possession before. I thought it was a great look. I think Ware's rebounding has really taken a leap here in a sense because snuck that one in there. Test driving it, just seeing if this works. Might have swerved out of my lane.
Been in the garage for a little bit longer.
He's getting these out of area rebounds now, pretty consistently on both ends, defensively and offensively.
Yeah,
that's doing stuff. That's changing the game. Materially changing the game, getting a rebound that you had no business getting on either end. I've been really impressed with the way that Kel'el has rebounded. I want to go back to what I was talking about before. I do think one of the reasons that the Kel'el and Bam pairing is working lately, and it has been a huge net positive lately. It's one of the best two-man lineups in the league since the All-Star break. Bam and Ware together. And what we're seeing lately is the use of a lot of zone. I was surprised. We haven't talked about this, David. I was surprised by how much zone they played down the stretch against the Hornets, which is a really good jump shooting team. You typically don't want to play zone against a great jump shooting team. The Heat went to their zone. They have they play their zone. They pick up guys early, so it's not your typical zone, right? Like they're gonna defend you in that zone. But the use of the zone with Ware and Bam, I thought Ware was inconsistent in that first half, especially in pick and roll coverage. And then Spo goes to his zone in the second half. It covers up some of Ware's deficiencies as a pick and roll defender. And I think that's a big reason why you're seeing that pairing work lately is those guys anchoring that back line of the zone. It's really hard to to score against that kind of length in a zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Just the combination is, look, we talked about it. You know, they needed to kind of work through these kinks, and I think with the games increasing in importance and magnitude and what they mean in the context of this point of the season, like you had to figure it out. Like you can't afford not to. It's one way of creating an advantage for a team that doesn't have that superstar player on the roster to create an obvious advantage. So you've got the two bigs there. Their quality, they both stretch the floor. They both do things well. The rebounding, the defense, they're complementary one another. And we're starting to see that more and more. So I'm great. I'm grateful that Spo has realized that and left the two out there so they can figure out the connection a little bit better. And I'm curious to see whether or not it continues to get better because I think it will.
Eric writes in, we need to give the Heat front office some credit for what I think is a phenomenal job finding good players outside of the lottery. Do we need a unicorn? Sure. But most teams really stink at those parts past the lottery picks. I've brought this up before. I think this Heat team has done a really good job drafting guys. You're not going to always find a Giannis or a Kawhi in the middle of the first round, this guy who just blossoms into this superstar finals MVP caliber player. But finding rotation level players consistently in the middle to the end of the first round, Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., right? Like go back further, Tyler Herro, an all-star, Bam Adebayo, an all-star. These guys were not top 10 picks. It's really the Heat don't have a lot of straight up misses in the draft lately, and that's really hard to do.
Yeah,
you can make the argument that nobody's drafted better than the Heat lately, right? Considering where they're drafting and the players that they consistently find. It's easy to draft well when you're picking in the top 5 all the time. Yeah, but that's not what the Heat are doing, and they're finding guys who can play real minutes in important games.
I think they mentioned that on the broadcast yesterday, like that Charlotte has had 4 or 5 rookies of the year, and I'm like, and I hear the statistic. Of course, Miami hasn't had any, and I'm thinking to myself, why is that? It's like, oh right, because they get like top 3 picks all the time because they continuously suck. That's what happens when you're always drafting in that range. Yeah, you always get guys that wind up blossoming. Guess what? Either they leave or their career never pans out. Like you can get a LaMelo Ball or a Kemba Walker or Alonzo Mourning, Larry Johnson, all these type of players that have thrived in Charlotte. But you know what?
They
It
have
hasn't
3.
really translated to much success. 3?
Three.
I thought they said
LaMelo in 2021. Emeka Okafor in 2005.
with the Bobcats.
Yeah, that would have Bobcats era. And then you go back further. So they're including both. So they do this weird thing with Charlotte because they still include the prior to the move history in this current iteration of the Charlotte Hornets history. So Larry Johnson in 1992 was the other one.
Well, I guess it couldn't have been Alonzo because of Shaquille O'Neal. I guess he was pretty good too. But
Yeah, I think Shaq won it that year.
yeah, of course. That's
Antonio
deserving list now.
Antonio writes in, what do you think the starting 5 will be when Norm Powell returns? I will say this. Tyler Herro does not go to the bench. Nope. He's a starter. And I think as much as we've talked about Bam and Ware playing together, the Heat, when Powell comes back, they need to figure out what Powell and Herro can do on the court together. We talked about this, like the team's highest ceiling might be one when they're playing together, right? When it's Ware and Bam and Herro and Powell in the backcourt. They need to figure out what those two guys could do on the court together. There's the potential for that to be really dynamic offensively and be really interesting going down the stretch. Or not. Maybe it doesn't work, but they got to figure it out. I think you have to start both of them.
I thought so too, but I think we've just seen that the potential for what you give up defensively is too great. Like obviously the upside offensively is higher, but you need a guy out there like a Davion Mitchell. And last night it was Drew Smith closing the game, like over Davion.
I'm glad you brought Drew Smith up. He was so important.
Making the right plays there, and he was complimenting Tyler in a way that Davion does too. And look, I mean,
Drew Smith.
Yeah, there's a lot of different possibilities there.
So you bring Powell off the bench?
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? It's a tough one because the same way Tyler had to accept it, does Norm accept it going into like potential contract negotiations and things of that sort? Like you want to be the dutiful soldier, but you also want to showcase yourself. You cannot.
His playmaking is too important. That's that level that Norm's not hitting, right? Norm's still mostly an off-ball guy. That's what I'm saying. If you start Tyler, do you necessarily need Davion's playmaking on the? I understand what I know that you're making an argument for the defensive end, and I think it's a good basketball argument. I just don't know how I don't know. I just don't know how you do it.
What was the closing lineup yesterday? It was Drew, Tyler, Kel'el, Bam, and who was the fifth?
Was it Pella?
Yeah. Was it Pella or Hyman? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking, like, we have Wiggs in there, right? Obviously, if he's healthy and available, he'd probably be the guy in the closing spot there. Is that enough defensively to make up for what you give up with both Norm and Tyler? So I just, Spo, he's always going to want one of his guys out there, and whether it's Davion or Drew. Like, I thought Drew was really bad early on. I'm like,
yeah,
man, Spo really loves Drew Smith. Like, you can see it because he's like sticking with him when Drew can't do anything offensively, and he's even giving up some plays defensively and getting his hands caught in the cookie jar, albeit I think unfairly. So he was called for some fouls that I don't think should have gone against him. But either way, Spo sticks with him. Guess what? He winds up hitting big free throws, big shots, getting key possessions down the stretch. It's like it just pays off. Drew just makes things happen and makes wins. He generates wins for this team.
It was that kind of depth that this team has talked about and not really had, and actually now seems to have. Right? Drew Smith played more minutes than Kasparis Giannis, which was not part of the plan. This last week or so. But to your point, like Spo saw something with Drew Smith. He liked something, and Drew Smith at the top of that zone was really important. I thought as a pickup point guy. Really late in that game, as good as Kel'el and Bam were on the back line of that zone, Drew Smith was really important at the top of the zone. So, I'm with you. I don't know what you do. Do you go Dave? You can't bench Wiggs, right? You need him.
Oh,
you need his size. You need his positionality. So, it's gonna be tough. I do wonder if Davion is on the outside looking in and just for an experimental period. Or maybe you just swap Herro and Norm. It's really interesting. I don't see a world where you bring Herro off the bench anymore. I don't see how. He's too good. He's too good. You need his shot making. I just don't see how you do it. It's a really tough. That's a really tough problem for Erik Spoelstra to figure out. Maybe somebody will just be injured every game. You won't have to worry about it. Maybe that's the ultimate answer. That's going to do it for us today here on a Saturday morning bonus episode of Locked On Heat. Thanks for tuning in to Locked On Heat. Make sure you subscribe, follow Locked On Heat so you get all the latest episodes. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Join the Cookie Gang and get the Locked On Heat ad-free, plus members-only Discord access and more. Head to lockedonheat.supercast.com to join the club.